Reading the title of this piece might lead someone to believe it will be an in-depth exploration of oral affection techniques from experts, but that's not quite the case. While it is about oral affection, the main focus here is on how this expression of intimacy pertains specifically to your partner. Have you ever desired something for your birthday or a holiday, thoughtfully dropped hints to the people who might be gifting you, only to unwrap a present that wasn't quite what you expected? The situation often calls for gratitude, as it is customary to appreciate the effort and thought behind any gift, regardless of whether it aligns perfectly with what you hoped for. On the flip side, the giver, the person who chose to buy what they wanted rather than what you wanted, often expects appreciation simply for having given a gift. This dynamic can lead to a certain amount of polite pretense on both ends. We've all experienced moments like these at some point in our lives. Looking back to the 1970s when we were in our early 20s and dating, we were not practicing Christians. During this period of our lives, intimacy was a central part of our relationship. Being young, full of passion, and excited by all the new experiences, almost anything we did together was a turn-on. Privacy and discretion were not the priorities that they might be today. In fact, our affection bloomed in all sorts of places and situations without much concern for etiquette or secrecy. I vividly recall moments when I was able to bring him immense joy simply through giving that special kind of attention. And similarly, he delighted me with that same openness. Everything seemed perfect in those times. However, as time passed and familiarity grew, we began to learn that certain acts weren't always pleasurable for one or the other. Intimacy, after all, is a journey of understanding and discovering what truly brings comfort and happiness to both partners. When something caused discomfort or unease, the natural response was to step away from it gently. Gradually, the experiences that formed the regular routine of our connection became shaped by what felt good and avoid what didn't. This is where the cornerstone of all healthy intimacy lies. Communication, not just talking about what you want, but also truly listening to your partner's needs and desires. The goal is not merely to give, but to give in a way that brings happiness, pleasure, and satisfaction to your partner. It's important to understand that the greatest blessing in intimacy is in the act of giving rather than receiving. There is an unmatched joy that blooms when you can spontaneously express affection in a way that your partner truly desires, without the expectation of reciprocation, although often that naturally occurs anyway. For example, there have been countless times when one of us would be lying down while the other showed affection, so aroused and intent on giving pleasure that any restraint or distraction melted away. Those moments, when you are utterly focused on your partner's joy, are deeply bonding and exhilarating. A common pitfall in many relationships is entering intimate moments with the assumption that you already know everything about your partner's desires. This assumption can create frustration and stagnation. Worse still, expecting a partner to be satisfied with a routine that no longer excites or fulfills them risks diminishing the connection over time. After marriage, with the responsibilities of children, mortgages, careers, and the general chaos of daily life, the privacy and passion that once fueled the relationship can get pushed aside. These factors can all drain the energy from your intimate connection. Along the way, becoming part of a faith community introduced us to new perspectives on relationships and morals. We encountered friends and teachers offering advice, opinions, and guidelines on what was considered right or wrong within the sphere of intimacy. However, it became clear that just because others felt compelled to speak, it didn't mean their views were necessarily applicable or helpful to us personally. For instance, some of my friends disliked giving oral affection so much that it became a source of tension or led to them avoiding intimacy altogether. On the other hand, my husband's friends expressed feelings of inadequacy and discouragement, sensing that no matter what they tried, their efforts were unappreciated and their marriages faltered. Understanding marriage as a monogamous partnership is important because it means that the only place your spouse has to find affection, fulfillment, and satisfaction is in you. When one partner refuses to meet the other's intimate needs, this can sow the seeds of discontent and lead to feelings of being unloved or unwanted. Left unaddressed, these gaps can lead to thoughts or actions that are harmful to the marital bond. This reality places a responsibility on both partners to give not merely what they personally prefer or want to give, but rather what their spouse truly needs to feel loved and fulfilled. This mutual cooperation forms the foundation of a thriving, intimate life. If you've encountered any of our prior writings or discussions, you may have heard us refer to our intimate revolution. The heart of that revolution was honest, open communication about what truly excites and connects us, without shame or fear. Unfortunately, during the courting process, many people withhold some of their real desires because of fear or concern about judgment. They worry that expressing certain needs might make their potential spouse think less of them. These desires are then packed away, and marriage begins with a silent gap between what is expressed and what is really wanted, with the hope that one day there might be room to truly embrace and express those needs. This issue can be even more pronounced within Christian marriages, where certain desires may be viewed as inappropriate or unchristian, creating additional barriers to open discussion and fulfillment. Despite these challenges, the path forward lies in building a relationship where communication is safe, honest, and free from judgment, allowing both partners to explore and express their intimacy in ways that honor both their feelings and their values. In the end, the journey through intimacy, particularly oral affection, is less about technique and more about connection, trust, and communication. It invites couples to deepen their understanding of each other, to give freely and joyfully, and to embrace the vulnerability that true closeness requires. When approached with these intentions, the act of giving and receiving becomes a profound expression of love, bonding, and mutual satisfaction. Being able to spontaneously provide your partner with the kind of affectionate attention they enjoy is incredibly arousing, especially when done without expecting anything in return. Though naturally, that affection often comes back. There have been moments where one partner is lying comfortably and the other is so focused on giving pleasure that the excitement is palpable. It's an electric experience when you find joy merely from seeing your partner's happiness, moving, breathing, and responding to your touch. These moments are some of the most intimate and powerful in a relationship. However, one of the biggest mistakes we can make in our intimate lives is entering a situation assuming that we already know everything about pleasure and connection. Such certainty often blinds us to what our partner really enjoys and prevents us from growing together emotionally and physically. Worse yet is expecting our partner to be content with the status quo indefinitely, even if it no longer excites or satisfies either of you. Marriage brings about many changes: children, homes, jobs, responsibilities, and the many demands that life throws our way. These changes often clutter our space, time, and energy, leaving less room for privacy and intimacy. Sometimes affection and connection become scarcer, suffocated by stress and fatigue. This is a common hurdle that many couples face. Alongside these realities, joining a faith community adds deeper layers of expectations or opinions on what is appropriate in intimate relationships. We listened to alternative viewpoints, absorbing ideas about right and wrong shared by friends, leaders, and teachers. This influx of external voices can sometimes complicate the landscape, making it more challenging to navigate your unique relationship. Just because someone feels compelled to advise doesn't mean their perspective is accurate or helpful for you. I have known individuals, including close friends, who strongly disliked giving certain intimate affections. In some cases, those feelings led to withdrawing entirely from physical closeness with their partners. On the other side, some men confided in my husband, expressing feelings of defeat and inadequacy. They felt trapped in cycles where no effort seemed right or appreciated, and their relationship status felt fragile and threatened. These stories highlight a broader issue many couples face: the difficulty in achieving mutual fulfillment and the emotional toll it takes when desires and needs feel unfulfilled or misunderstood. When two people enter marriage, they are committing to a shared life with monogamous intimacy. This commitment means that the spouse is the sole source and refuge for each other's affection, desire, and satisfaction. It's painful when one partner withdraws or refuses to meet the intimate needs of the other. This gap not only causes emotional distance but also creates fertile ground for damaging thoughts or behaviors that threaten trust and security. Recognizing this reality is essential because it sets the expectation that fulfilling a partner's needs is a shared responsibility, a cooperative dance rather than a one-sided effort. Giving to your partner is not about offering what you feel like sharing on any given day, but about tuning in to what truly makes them feel loved and satisfied. This requires vulnerability, honesty, and often difficult conversations, but the dividends are rich and transformative. If you've seen our other writings or discussions, you'll know that we often refer to our intimate revolution, a period in our marriage where open, honest communication about our desires radically changed our connection. This revolution was fueled by the willingness to lay aside assumptions and communicate without shame or fear. Unfortunately, many individuals hide parts of their desires during the dating and courtship phase. They fear being judged or seen differently, so they hold back, hoping that once married, there will be space to express these needs. Often, this hope is unmet, and those desires remain unvoiced, creating a quiet dissatisfaction under the surface. This pattern is even more common in Christian marriages, where certain intimate preferences might be perceived as inappropriate or unchristian, making discussions riskier. The hesitation to share openly may deepen feelings of isolation or frustration. The antidote to all this is clear. Open, ongoing communication is the key. Both partners must learn to speak honestly about what excites and fulfills them, and equally importantly, must listen with empathy and without judgment. Intimacy is not static, it evolves as partners grow and change. Maintaining an open dialogue allows couples to navigate these changes together, rediscover each other's desires, and deepen their connection. It also keeps the flame alive by inviting exploration and playfulness rather than settling into routine or resignation. Taking the time to share what feels good, what doesn't, and what remains to be discovered turns intimacy into a journey rather than a checklist. It encourages mutual respect and attentiveness, where each partner feels seen, heard, and valued. The ability to honor your partner's needs while also expressing your own leads to a rich and fulfilling connection that sustains long-term happiness. Embracing vulnerability, patience, and a spirit of cooperation ultimately transforms intimate moments into expressions of profound love and trust. In the end, the success of any intimate relationship depends not on mastery or perfection, but on the willingness to communicate honestly and respond with care. By keeping the lines of communication open and making each other's happiness a priority, couples can break free from the traps of assumption and dissatisfaction. They can rediscover the joy of spontaneous affection and shared pleasure, building a bond that grows stronger with each moment of true connection. Entering into marriage brings a commitment not only to a shared life but also to a monogamous relationship that encompasses both emotional and physical intimacy. This commitment means that your spouse is the sole person with whom you share your deepest affections and desires. It also means that you are their exclusive source of gratification and satisfaction on these levels. When one partner neglects or refuses to fulfill the intimate needs of the other, this creates a rift that can deeply affect the relationship. Feelings of neglect or dissatisfaction often foster emotional distance, and worse, may sow seeds for thoughts or temptations that threaten the trust and unity of the bond. Understanding this dynamic is essential because it establishes the importance of mutual responsibility in nurturing intimacy not as an obligation, but as a shared expression of love and care. Giving to your partner is not about offering what feels convenient or preferred in the moment, but about tuning into what genuinely brings them happiness and fulfillment. This requires sensitivity, openness, and sometimes courage to engage in honest dialogue about desires, boundaries, and feelings. Such conversations can be challenging, but ultimately deepen connection and create a space of trust and safety. Our own experience, reflected in what we have called our intimate revolution, emerged out of a period where candid communication reshaped how we approached our relationship. We learned that assumptions and unspoken expectations were barriers to genuine closeness, and by breaking through those, we could discover a richer and more satisfying connection. Often, during the courting or dating phase, people hesitate to reveal all aspects of their intimate preferences or needs. The fear of judgment or rejection leads many to hide what truly excites or matters to them. They enter marriage carrying these unspoken parts of themselves, hoping that time will allow for fuller expression of desires. Unfortunately, when these hopes go unmet, it can result in quiet dissatisfaction or unmet needs that slowly erode the intimacy once shared. This situation is common not just in secular relationships, but is even more pronounced in Christian marriages, where certain desires may be viewed as inappropriate or incompatible with faith-based values. The weight of these judgments can compound the difficulty of opening up about personal pleasures. Breaking through these barriers starts with creating an environment where both partners feel safe and respected enough to share without fear of condemnation. Honest communication becomes the bedrock upon which the relationship rebuilds and strengthens itself. Intimacy is an evolving journey. It shifts over time as people grow, age, and face new challenges. Regularly checking in with each other about needs and desires helps keep the relationship vibrant and responsive, rather than allowing it to settle into complacency or routine. Exploration and willingness to try new things within mutually agreed boundaries can also breathe fresh life into the connection. Part of this process means moving away from the mindset of what I want to embracing what my partner needs. It's not always easy to set aside personal preferences in favor of the other's happiness, yet doing so fosters an atmosphere of generosity and care. Both partners benefit when they feel that their satisfaction matters deeply to the other, and this mutual prioritization of fulfillment enhances emotional intimacy as well. When giving and receiving become acts of genuine love rather than obligation, the bond solidifies in ways that sustain even through life's stresses and changes. The journey toward mutual satisfaction requires patience, empathy, and resilience. It asks each partner to listen actively and attentively, to receive feedback without defensiveness, and to express their own feelings clearly and kindly. This ongoing dialogue supports not only the physical aspects of intimacy, but also deeper emotional and spiritual connection. When partners engage in this way, they cultivate trust and harmony that permeate the entire relationship. In the context of faith, couples may face additional challenges in reconciling personal desires with spiritual beliefs. Navigating these complexities calls for compassionate conversation and often guidance from trusted sources who respect both the couple's values and their need for intimacy. Balancing faith with the human need for connection does not have to be a source of conflict. Rather, it can become an opportunity for growth and deeper understanding of one another. Ultimately, the fulfillment of intimate needs within marriage is not merely about physical pleasure. It is about honoring one another's whole personhood. It's about being willing to give freely and receive graciously, fostering a partnership where both individuals feel cherished and satisfied. This mutual devotion strengthens the foundation of marriage and creates a sanctuary where love, respect, and joy can flourish. When both partners commit to this shared effort, intimacy transforms from a duty into a profound blessing that enhances every part of their lives together. One common mistake in intimate relationships is assuming that you know best when it comes to expressing affection. For instance, many people believe that such moments need to happen strictly at home in the bedroom, but intimacy can be wonderfully spontaneous and experienced in a variety of settings. Whether it's during a long road trip, a quiet moment away at a park, or even sneaking off for a connection at a wedding reception, the possibilities for creating special experiences are endless and limited only by your imagination and comfort. The key is being willing to explore and adapt to what feels right for both partners. Oral affection, in particular, can be a rewarding and deeply connective addition to your intimate life when practiced with attention and care. Considering the experience from the woman's perspective, this form of affection involves using the tongue, lips, and mouth to stimulate sensitive areas and bring about moments of intense pleasure. It can also involve secondary stimulation through the use of fingers or other gentle methods that add to the overall sensation. One important aspect that was vital for me to communicate to my husband was how often a woman can approach the edge of climax, only to have that moment recede. This can happen repeatedly and may cause frustration both for the person receiving and the person giving affection, especially if patience runs thin or enthusiasm wanes. However, when both partners stay attentive and focused, the final moment of release can be extraordinarily powerful and deeply satisfying. The modern term edging perfectly describes this process. Bringing oneself or one's partner close to the point of climax, then deliberately pausing or maintaining a steady stimulation to heighten the eventual experience. This phenomenon is not exclusive to women. Men can experience this sensation too, where they reach the verge of climax and then remain there without crossing over immediately. In these moments, clear communication becomes critical. For example, when I tell my partner, "That's right, stay there, keep doing exactly that," it's essential that he continues without guessing or changing his approach, because that precise action is what feels best. I also learned that nonverbal cues like moans, whispers, and gentle cries serve to boost my partner's confidence and encourage them. But verbal feedback is equally important. Phrases such as softer, harder, move your fingers here, or lick here and gently kiss convey important information and create a shared dialogue that guides the experience. While the focus might often be on a particularly sensitive area known to provide significant pleasure, commonly referred to as the clitoral region, True enjoyment often comes from paying loving attention to the whole intimate area, including the vulva, inner thighs, and surrounding pelvis. Soft, sensual kisses along the inner thighs, for instance, can be incredibly arousing and should not be underestimated in their power. Through practice and open communication, once a woman experiences a truly amazing climax from her partner's dedicated attention, a desire for more often follows. In our experience, there have been times when I have had several intense moments in one session, sometimes 5, 6, or even more, until exhaustion sets in. These are not necessarily back-to-back, but occur over the course of the intimate encounter. Sometimes my passion ignites intensely, and I find myself holding tightly to his head, moving rhythmically, moaning, whispering, and even speaking quite boldly in intimate terms. On other occasions, I take a more active role, positioning myself on top, moving energetically, eyes closed as I lose myself in the sensation. I might stimulate myself or him further by pinching nipples or incorporating other forms of touch. Perhaps I'm still eager for another climax, but feel fatigued. Then, supportive gestures from him, like pulling me closer by the hips, intensify the connection and bring renewed energy. With so much information available today through videos and other resources, there are countless tips and techniques offered on how to perform oral affection. However, none of these can substitute for real, honest communication between partners. Trying new things is encouraged as long as both are willing, but the foundation must always be doing what your partner wants and enjoys. Discovering the various places on, in, and around her intimate area that produce the greatest pleasure requires patience and attentiveness. Determining the right pressure, the right speed, and the right combination of vigor versus softness is a process of mutual learning. As for finger placement during affection, I've found what feels best is having the palm facing up, fingers slightly curved, positioned just inside the opening, applying gentle pressure to the soft tissues inside the pelvis. Combining this with simultaneous oral stimulation creates powerful sensations and leads to some of my most memorable moments. Though not something I initially favored, occasionally, when I'm in the right frame of mind, including gentle and well-lubricated attention to certain areas beyond the standard spots can enhance pleasure. This requires a high level of comfort and trust, as well as patience and cleanliness. Over time, open communication with my partner led to trying new experiences that we both found enjoyable, including analingus. Proper hygiene is an essential prerequisite for this kind of intimacy and makes the experience fully pleasurable when respected. Being attuned not only to what feels good, but also understanding and accepting boundaries is vital. Both partners need to be willing to experiment and try new things while also respecting any limits set by the other. Each person's comfort defines what will work best, and consent is the foundation of any satisfying intimate experience. At our current stage of life, our intimate relationship is more satisfying than ever before. Naturally, health or emotional challenges occasionally delay or reduce our activity, but these are temporary pauses, not permanent obstacles. Through growing affection and ongoing communication, our enjoyment of intimacy continues to deepen, proving that the journey of connection and pleasure is lifelong when nurtured with care and respect. Once a woman experiences an amazing sense of closeness and pleasure from her partner's devoted attention, she often desires more of those moments. In our marriage, there have been many occasions where I've reached that peak multiple times during one intimate session, sometimes 5, 6, or more, until I simply could not continue. These climaxes don't always come strictly from oral affection alone or necessarily in immediate succession. Rather, they may be spread across the course of a long and nurturing connection. Sometimes, my desire grows so intense that I find myself holding tightly to his head, moving in rhythm with my own needs, moaning, whispering, begging, or even speaking boldly with intimate words. Other times, I take a more active role, positioning myself on top and moving energetically, my eyes closed as I lose myself in the moment. My touch can range from gently pinching my own nipples or his to a more vigorous, playful rhythm that drives the intensity higher. When fatigue creeps in during longer sessions, I often rely on my partner's supportive touch. He might grip my hips or pull me closer, causing the most sensitive areas to press into him and rekindle that rising need for release. In the age of abundant online content, it's common to find videos or articles offering all kinds of tips and techniques for performing oral affection. While these can provide useful hints and inspiration, they don't replace the most important ingredient of all: open, honest communication between partners. Experimenting with new things is encouraged, provided both people are willing, but the foundation should always be honoring what your partner truly wants and enjoys. This means discovering together the unique spots on, in, and around her intimate areas that bring the deepest pleasure. It requires patience to find the right levels of pressure, the ideal balance between gentle and more vigorous touch, as well as the best rhythms and movements. For me personally, when fingers are involved, I prefer the palm facing upward with fingers slightly curved just inside the opening, gently pressing against the soft tissues within my pelvis. Combined with his oral affection, this approach has produced some of the most powerful and memorable sensations in our shared intimacy. Furthermore, although certain forms of intimacy like anal play are not initially appealing to me, with trust and open conversation, we've been able to explore this area occasionally, leading to new dimensions of pleasure. Cleanliness is paramount here. Knowing that everything is hygienically taken care of allows me to relax and enjoy these experiences fully. Communication about boundaries and comfort levels is key throughout this journey. Both partners must be willing to discuss what they feel comfortable trying, as well as what they prefer to avoid. Respecting each other's limits with kindness and understanding strengthens trust and facilitates deeper closeness. Willingness to explore and fulfill each other's desires while honoring boundaries creates a safe environment that nurtures passion and vulnerability. As we have grown older, our physical responses have naturally changed. For men, in particular, there are shifts in timing and sensitivity that come with age. I have learned not to assume that any changes represent a fault or failure, but rather part of the ebb and flow of life and bodies. Every man is unique, so the best approach is to have open conversations about what feels good, what might need adjustment, and what new ways of showing affection might be enjoyable. For example, my husband sometimes enjoys having his nipples gently pinched or a finger used in intimate ways that bring him pleasure beyond what we focused on earlier in our relationship. There is a practice called prostate massage that can provide profound sensations during intimate moments for men. Anal affection, done only when my husband feels comfortable and clean, has become part of our shared experience. The sensation of gently playing with his most sensitive areas while watching his reactions, the intensity, his breathing, the sounds of approval adds emotional depth to our intimacy. Naturally, with age, the time it takes for him to reach climax has increased, but the intensity of the experience is often much stronger than in earlier years. To manage the physical demands on me, especially during oral affection, we combine different forms of stimulation. Integrating gentle finger play or nipple pinching with oral attention allows for breaks while maintaining arousal. This variety keeps things interesting for both of us and reduces fatigue on any one part of the body. Eye contact during these moments also strengthens our emotional connection. Looking into each other's eyes while sharing affection enhances intimacy immensely. It draws us closer, infusing the experience with love and vulnerability. In writing this, my husband has been right here with me, offering guidance and sharing what he enjoys most about our physical connection. We hope that by sharing our experiences honestly, other couples might feel encouraged to explore more openly what brings them joy and satisfaction. Communication, respect, and willingness to try new things together can greatly enrich any relationship. As our relationship has matured, we've found our intimate life more fulfilling than ever. Despite occasional setbacks from health or emotional challenges, our connection remains strong and vibrant. The key to this enduring satisfaction lies not only in the physical acts themselves, but in the deep emotional bond we nurture through honesty, openness, and affectionate giving. When both partners make an ongoing effort to understand and meet each other's unique needs, intimacy becomes a source of continual joy, connection, and love that sustains through all of life's seasons.